Remember MySpace, the Facebook of the 2000s that dominated the social media space? Despite its early popularity, today no one even seems to remember their MySpace password. So, what went wrong? Welcome to Hari's Hobbies. It all started in August of 2003 with several eUniverse employees. They all had Friendster accounts and saw the potential of social networking. So the group decided to mimic the most popular features of Friendster and create their own platform called MySpace. And within just 10 days, they were able to develop MySpace and get it ready for launch. This was mainly due to Brad Greenspan, who was the CEO of eUniverse. He was very supportive of the project and provided a team with programmers and resources. Chris DeWolf was appointed as the very first CEO and Tom Anderson was the first president. Brad was very insistent that it had to be free in order to build a really strong community. The first MySpace users were eUniverse employees. The company would even hold contests to see who could get the most amount of people to sign up onto MySpace. MySpace was quickly gaining users and soon enough it was on par with Friendster. eUniverse's resources were essential in the fast rise of MySpace and the eventual takeover of Friendster. This was because Brad was able to employ the help of tech experts like Toan Nguyen and Aber Whitcomb. These men played an integral role in the software architecture and really set up MySpace to succeed. They utilized a much superior Cold Fusion server hosting system. Despite Friendster having 10 times more developers, MySpace was 10 times faster than Friendster. This was because Cold Fusion is much faster than the Java server pages used by Friendster. And this allowed MySpace to easily overtake Friendster and never look back. MySpace was growing in popularity very quickly among teens and young adults. And in February of 2005, Chris and Mark Zuckerberg would actually discuss buying Facebook. But Chris thought that Mark's offer of $75 million was way too much for the young platform, and as a result, the deal would never go through. But lucky for the founders, they would never have to deal with the repercussions of not going through with that deal, as they would cash out. Of course they would hold on to some equity, but nothing major. In July of 2005, eUniverse and MySpace would be purchased by Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation. These are the people behind Fox News. The deal would total $580 million, of which $327 million is said to be for MySpace. Within just the first year, MySpace would triple its original purchase price. And the other companies that lost in the bidding war for MySpace got very frustrated. In fact, Viacom chairman Sumner Redstone would actually fire his CEO for failing in the acquisition. Anyways, in 2006, MySpace would expand into the UK, China, and several other countries as well. And that same year in August of 2006, the 100 millionth MySpace account would be created. And then in November of 2007, MySpace would join Google-led Open Social Alliance. This included companies like LinkedIn and High5, and promoted a common set of standards for software developers to write programs for social networks. But Facebook, on the other hand, would never join this and always remain independent. By late 2007, MySpace was the dominant social media network and it consistently beat out its main competitor, Facebook. At its peak in 2007, MySpace would be valued at $12 billion. But things would take a sudden turn for MySpace. On April 19th of 2008, Facebook would surpass MySpace. And since then, MySpace has consistently lost membership and Facebook has never looked back. The first problem was that there was really no comparison between MySpace and Facebook. Facebook was clearly the superior product, and this was mainly because MySpace lacked innovation. Facebook takes just seconds to learn, and as a product, it is very user-friendly. MySpace, on the other hand, pretty much looks identical to how it looked when it launched. There's only been a handful of updates since then. They are also very slow at adapting to new technologies like Ajax. This allows users to send messages without opening a new browser window. It also allows them to import email addresses into the friends list. And it also allows for instant messaging, and Facebook trampled MySpace in all three of these. Facebook also allowed third-party developers to develop apps on their website, while MySpace was very insistent that they would develop their own apps. They waited almost a full year after Facebook to allow developers onto the website. Facebook's very popular social games was one of the main reasons for its success, like Farmville. Even people who were considered MySpace stars leave the platform. For example, Tila Tequila, who is a model and rapper, really gained most of her popularity through her audience in MySpace. In 2006, Time magazine even named her the Queen of MySpace. And today, she says that she has lost her passion in MySpace and that she doesn't even remember her password. She says that she stopped logging into MySpace because it just wasn't simple anymore, and this seems to be a common theme. As Facebook was towering over MySpace, they decided to change from being a social network to a social entertainment destination. They essentially gave up on trying to compete with Facebook and tried to go on their own venture. They were trying to reposition themselves in the market, but the problem was that this is not the reason that people started using MySpace in the first place. By making this change, they weren't providing their users with what they were expecting or wanted. Recently, Twitter has actually made a pretty similar change to this and have really focused on live video and news. Twitter too stopped pushing to become like Facebook, but there's one key difference between what Twitter did and what MySpace did. Twitter's users were already using Twitter for news before Twitter really started to focus on it. So Twitter actually improved what users were using Twitter for in the first place, but MySpace was moving away from what users were using it for. Basically, imagine Snapchat was losing users, and as a result, they suddenly choose to focus on games. This would not help drive traffic or keep users, it would actually push them away because that's not why they got the app. MySpace shouldn't have changed their purpose because that's not what they got wrong. Instead, they should have focused on how they could make their user experience better and why people preferred Facebook over MySpace. This fundamental misstep really set them up for failure in the future. But it was really hard to make changes and really focus on what was important because it was so corporate. Since News Corp bought MySpace, MySpace was just a small drop in the News Corp ocean. It was often said that the News Corporation cared more about profits than the actual user experience, and this would explain the really slow innovation. News Corp generates over $9 billion in revenue every single year, and MySpace sits in a small division called Fox Media Interactive. This division as a whole only generated $1 billion at its peak. This division only produced 10% of the company's revenue. Now, this is a significant portion, but it's not by any means a deal breaker for News Corp. This really diverted focus away from MySpace and hindered them from making it a good user experience. If you take a look at Facebook, today they have bought several other companies like WhatsApp. But at this point, Facebook's main and only source of revenue was Facebook. So they really focused on the user experience and retaining customers. And MySpace simply did not as aggressively attract or retain users as Facebook did. And this was heavily due to MySpace being neglected by the News Corporation. Maybe Facebook would have never blown up and MySpace would be still really big if it was never sold to News Corp, but now we'll never know. Without innovation, purpose, or control, MySpace was destined to fail. It was just a matter of time. MySpace was losing millions of active users every single month throughout 2010 and 2011. And in March of 2011, MySpace was officially put up for sale. They were aiming to sell MySpace for $100 million, but none of the bids even came close to that. The closest bid was from Specific Media for $35 million. They had acquired it for $327 million, so this was only 10% of that. But it may have not actually been an overall loss for News Corp. MySpace was vastly successful at the beginning, and they were actually able to score a $900 million deal with Google for advertising. So they may have very well came out even or even profited money from MySpace. But it definitely was not the success they were looking for, as they were looking to turn MySpace into the billion-dollar company that it was during its peak. And it ended up just wasting a lot of time. Even if it was profitable, it really wasn't worth News Corp's time considering how big they are. Since then, MySpace has changed hands and today Meredith Corporation owns them. They have also faced several terrible issues. For example, when they were trying to migrate their servers, they lost 12 years of content permanently. Even after all of that, MySpace is actually still around and there are a couple of million users who actually still cling on to it. But I think that we would all agree that MySpace is effectively dead. MySpace was one of the original social media giants and really surged to its peak in the late 2000s. But since then, without a real purpose or innovation and being absorbed into such a huge company has really taken away their appeal. And today, they sit in the hall of failed internet products along with AOL, Yahoo, and Internet Explorer. But like all of those, MySpace was great during its time and it was simply time to move on. But that's all I have for you guys on MySpace. Make sure to comment down below what company you would like me to cover next. Also, if you guys like this video, then make sure to drop a like and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos just like this one. But until then, I'm Hari, and I'll see you guys on the next one.